Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat. My name is always Asmal. This is a show where we talk about career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those who listen on Spotify and Apple Podcast, please give the show a rating. Now, if you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. We have a special double guest session for you today. We have Sumarie du Plessis, who is a chartered accountant and a coach who helps professionals in demanding careers improve performance and their quality of life. She's joined by Nico Oosthuizen, who is a professional life and leadership coach who helps people overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. Sumarie, Nico, thanks so much for joining me today.
Awesome.
Awesome to be here.
Sumarie's been on the channel before, but some of you might have missed it. So, can each of you just give us a brief backstory? Sumarie, I'll start with you.
Cool. Otherwise, you pretty much covered it. Eh? So I used to be a chartered accountant, and I turned coach about 3 years ago. And for me, it's about how do we have professional success and quality of life? Because I believe that we need both. Otherwise, if we choose one, the other one suffers anyway. So for me, it's about how do we have both, and it takes a different recipe than what we are used to, which is huge fun.
Awesome.
And Nico, if you can give us a bigger an update from you.
So I definitely come from a way different world and stumbled into this world of working with chartered accountants. Actually, by accident, I actually come from a theological background. I started out in theology and studied coaching on the side. I've been in the coaching industry since 2012 now, and I just knew a really good CA, and I started talking to him, and he introduced me to more CASAs, and then I started working with a lot of them. And yeah, so my passion is supporting people in expressing themselves in the world as best they can, to a degree that is worth this experience of being alive. So people flying under the radar, being overwhelmed by life that can be really messy and chaotic, and finding the grit and the courage to express themselves differently. And to me, what I do today, I'm a product of coaching. What I do today is because I've been coached by brilliant coaches, being pushed out of my comfort zone and practicing the skill over and over again. So coaching is also a way of paying it forward, because I'm really grateful for the work I'm doing.
Amazing, short and sweet. So the topic for today is time management, and specifically we're discussing improving time management and dealing with time pressures. I have my problems with time management, but to give the audience a background, Sumarie reached out to me and she said, we want to discuss this topic specifically. So maybe Sumarie, give us an idea why you wanted to discuss the topic.
Okay. So I think it's something that everybody struggles with. And it's the first excuse that we always get if we invite people to something. It's like even social situations. I want to, but I don't have time. So it's that it's a generic problem everywhere. And I feel like, especially in the finance industry, it's crazy. So we have too much work and too little time. It's the same message we get over and over again. And personal struggle with it as well for quite a while, until I sort of kind of started to see the light, and I was like, no, let's share the light. It's just too much fun.
Nico, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, this topic is so close to home. I did an interview process a few years ago with CFOs, and there was 15 CFOs in the interview process. And my first question is, how are you doing? And 13 of the 15 said, really busy, right? And then I'm like, that's such an interesting thing. If I'm asking, what's your experience of being, how you're doing, and the first very normative response is busy. which got me thinking, what is this busy? What does it mean? And over the time, me and my clients, we make a deal. We don't talk about busy anymore. There's no such thing. We call a spade a spade. So instead of saying we're busy, I challenge my clients to tell the truth and say, hey, I'm anxious. Right? That's what it is. People are overwhelmed with this not enough time, too many things, and it creates an experience of being in the world that's anxious. It's anxiety, and it's covered up, and busyness has become a bit of this, almost a status symbol. Being busy means being important, which we know is not true, but it has become some kind of a status symbol, and calling the bluff, right? Calling the bluff of this anxiety. That's not a high quality way of living and being in the world. That makes a difference, and it all comes back to how you're relating to time. So me and Sumarie, we connected on this because I've had a hell of a lot of clients struggling with overwhelm, and Sumarie comes from the background being a CA herself, having intimate experience of that, and now supporting people to live a different quality of life. So that's why we started talking about this topic.
So I want to stay with you a little bit. There's, like you said, there's probably lots of professionals who come to you and bring issues of time management. What do they say are their main problems in the subject?
What do they say are their main problems in regards to time management?
Yes.
Maybe
break it down.
Yeah, just being overwhelmed and always having more things to do than the time available to do it. And also, the moment you get overwhelmed, there's a lot of adrenaline, and your clarity of thinking decreases, and then it becomes really hard to prioritize, right? So everything feels equally important, and that just perpetuates the circle of overwhelm. So, but the main thing is more things to do on the to-do list, more important things to do on the to-do list than they actually have time for. It's like that old story of in time management circles, you'll hear the story of the prof walking into the class, and he has this big glass bowl, and then he has bigger pebbles, smaller pebbles, and sand, and then he asks the class, how would you get all this into? And then the very stupid class, for some reason, decide, oh, we're going to put the sand in first, and then we're going to put the medium pebbles, and then the big, and then it doesn't fit in. And then the very smart professor, he says, no, listen, here's the answer. And then he puts the bigger pebbles first, and then the medium size, and then he throws in the sand. and very nice idea, but the whole experiment is rigged from the start. Like, he sat at home and judged how many pebbles, right? And how many medium-sized pebbles and how much sand could he fit in. And in life, there's more big pebbles than there's space in this bucket, right? So that's what people are struggling with. There's just more things than physical time.
That's so true. So, Maria, I think are there obvious errors that professionals keep making? So, what my question is basically is there any low-hanging fruits that we can fix, or we can advise them to fix quickly?
Yeah, the short answer is no. This takes time. It's sad. And me and Nico jokes about this a lot, but it's that concept of there's no silver bullet, right? There's not a quick fix for this, because this is a much bigger problem than we realize. And that's why the interesting conversation. But I think in general, I think the trick is to ask a different question, because when you are in a mode of asking a question, how do I make time for everything that's important? It's a losing battle, and you'll never get there. And it's sort of, that was the turning point for me, was to realize, instead of asking, how do I get better to achieve that point where I have time for everything? Because that's not achievable at all. So I switched the question to say, how do I make peace with the fact that I won't get to everything? And then be more intentional about what I do spend my time on. And sort of the concept of opportunity cost to say, okay, I know I don't have time for everything. So that's the first thing we need to make peace with. And then to say, okay, I have limited time and resources. What do I spend that on that makes the biggest impact in my life? And then the opportunity cost was a big, huge move for me to realize how I'm wasting time on stuff that's really not important. It's busy, but it's not important. So that was a big one. That was a big one for me personally.
I realize that I'm juggling so many plates that at some stage I'm going to be dropping a plate or two, and it's just about whether I'm comfortable with dropping those plates.
Yeah.
For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. Now, I find that different things seem to work for different personalities. Some people really like checklists, and I hate it. I mean, I do the checklist the first day, and the next day I've chucked it after a few days because I just can't deal with it. I time block, and that seems to work for me. Nico, what are you seeing with your clients? What works best for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I can absolutely agree with what you're saying in terms of what behaviors on a behavioral level. Different things work for different people. Different systems work for different people. More specifically, I think different systems do not work for people most of the time. So you'll see people hopping through one system, next system, next system, next system. Then they're trying Pomodoro, then they're trying time blocking, then they're trying checklist, then they're making a very impressive thing on Notion and tracking their time. And then there's a lot of systems. And there's no one size fits all, but those are all on the behavioral level. And what tends to happen is people want to solve this problem on the behavioral level. And then because it cannot be solved on that level, you blame the system and you jump to the next system. You try to find the next answer. And what we tend to find is really slowing down and taking the time, which is kind of a sore topic, right? Taking the time, slowing down, and finding out how are you relating to time. Right? So I will give you a great example. I have a client I'm working with at the moment, and his big thing, and I hear this a lot, especially in the chartered accountants area, is time is money, right? Because you have billable hours, so time is money, and then when time is money, that's you've equated time in your meaning system to money. Then we have to ask the question: so what are you making money mean? What does money mean? And when I explored with this client, his meanings to money is there's never enough, right? There's never enough. There's not enough to go around, and that will never change. So his meanings to time is there's never enough. There won't be enough to go around, and that wouldn't change. And there's no single time management system, I don't care how good it looks from the outside, that will help you solve that problem. That guy will be overwhelmed as long as he has these beliefs about what money means and what time means. So it needs to be really slowed down. When we contract with clients, there's no silver bullet, right? Coaching comes from the sport world, right? It means you practice a skill to get to a certain outcome over a long time. Like imagine a sports coach coming in and say, all right, guys, you have 2 sessions with me. Let's solve this problem. That doesn't happen. You contract to work consistently on a specific set of skills over a long time to get to a specific outcome. So that's what we would do. We would slow it down and work to help this person relate differently to money and relate differently to time. And that frees up that mental capacity inside to make good decisions in terms of, on the behavioral level, which system they're going to use. Because at the end of the day, the system will never solve the problem. It's just a means to an end. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does, and it definitely resonates with me. I've had a coach since the beginning of 2021, and every year it's just about up leveling, and it's not chase the same targets. It's different targets. It's different type of targets. It's completely different. So having the right coach makes a massive difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Sumarie, I mean, and this, I mean, in an audit environment or even in a professional environment, you get this different level of, this is the manager level and this is the executive level. Do you see differences in, let's say, how a manager manages their time versus an executive? And the reason I'm asking that question is there might be managers out there who are thinking like, I need to get to the next level. And how do I get to the next level? Is my approach wrong?
It's an interesting question because I think it seems like we start a problem early. We start a problem at school where kids are overwhelmed already. Too much work, too little time, and too much extracurriculars. So it's that system that it's we keep chasing. At some point, it would be better. So if I reach the top management, then I will have time to have a life. But the truth is, if it's not gonna, it's not, the answer is not at the promotion level at some stage higher on the, higher promotions not gonna solve the problem. And that it's interesting how we chase that thing that we think, well, one day I will have time for everything. And then we approach life in a way that doesn't get you the promotion. So it's sort of that, where how we try to solve time management is like often working harder. It's the same concept. So working harder sometimes gets better results to a point, and then it starts getting worse results the harder you work. It's the same with this whole time management thing. It's where there's a sweet spot where if you pass the sweet spot, you're making it worse. It's like what Nico said, all that systems, and you try different systems, and at some point, trying to find the better time management system wastes your time. So it's sort of that trade-off again, and I think people, the mistake needs to be fixed at a, I want to say, entry level to job. The concept of how do I relate to time and how do I spend my time on what stuff that's important to me to have the professional success and the quality of life with, we need to start that early and not work and pray until someday when I am a promotion enough, that will be fixed. It's not. It needs to start early. Otherwise, you're just gonna rinse and repeat whenever, whatever level you enter.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I know that, I mean, the topic is a heady one, and I'm worried that I might be missing a key part of it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch things up, and I'm going to get each one of you to ask a question, either to me or to each other, to make sure we don't miss out on anything. So, over to you.
Nick, you wanna take the first one?
Question. It is a really heady topic, and Sumarie said earlier, like, we need to change the questions we're asking, right? And maybe that's the best question I can ask you. What is the main question that comes up for you when you think about time management? What's the main question, the burning question you have when you think about time management? Yeah.
The main question is, how can I do it all? I want to do it all. Do I squeeze everything in? And I don't think I can. It doesn't seem to be possible. Something has to fall.
Yeah, that's so great, because I think your first response is exactly what we all experience. We really want to do it all. There's an author, I think it's Oliver Berkman. He has this concept of creative hopelessness, and you need to accept that you're not doing it all. Like, as a matter, it's not just that. It's not even FOMO, man. It's not even like it's not even close. It's not like you're not doing it all. It's like there are so much more you're not doing than things you are doing, that it's literally impossible to even attempt to do 1/1,000,000th of what's possible, of the opportunities in your world. And the first time when you realize that, and you start to accept that part, it feels like a bit of hopelessness. It feels like giving up, right? But in that acceptance, a new creativity arises. In the acceptance that, oh, my time is really, really limited, a new creativity comes to the fore. The idea, and this is an economic idea, that which we have less of is more valuable, right? When we really accept all the things we're not doing, the things we are doing becomes more valuable, right? We become more present, because this thing I'm doing, I inadvertently said, I said no to thousands of things to do this thing, right? So the problem is in itself part of the solution. The problem that we don't have enough time is exactly the mechanism that gives the things we do so much more meaning. And when we start reframing and thinking it from the perspective of increased value and meaning, it becomes an ally instead of your fight to dominate time, right? It becomes this ally in your world, where how you relate to time has the function and ability to drastically increase the quality of what you experience moment to moment.
I hear you. I hear you. Lots to ponder. Sumarie, your question.
I think it was just to add on what Nico said. I don't know, I can't remember if it was Oliver who said that as well, but he said if we can change the fear of missing out into the joy of missing out, that concept of let's have fun with the fact that we're not gonna have time for everything, instead of fighting it, because it's our reality anyway, whether we choose to accept it or not. So you can either fight the reality that you don't have time for everything, or you can embrace it and just be more intentional about the choices that you spend your time on, which is a big thing. And then, was just for interest sake, like, what do you think is the biggest thing in your way of letting go on that question of how do I do it all?
I think the biggest thing is I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So that accountant in me wants to get everything 100% correct. I'll reread that email 3 times over. I'll double check. Sometimes I'm scared to get things wrong. So getting go of that is the thing that I'm trying to work on, because otherwise it takes so much time. Like, what if it's wrong? What if this is wrong? If it's not perfect. So that perfectionist thing is a stumbling block.
Yeah. And that's, man, that is so common, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, as you said, the accountant in you, maybe you should tap into the auditor in you and say materiality. Materiality can be a savior, right? Yeah,
Very
doesn't
true.
have to be perfect. Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Okay.
I don't see any questions coming through, so I think we've answered all the questions in our discussion. Um, any last few words from each of you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Yeah, I'd just like to add to this. It doesn't matter how you tackle this challenge of feeling overwhelmed. It is very possible to change how you experience it. There's a lot of hope. There's a different way of being. Being overwhelmed, busy and anxious, it doesn't have to be like that. And you don't have to change your job to change it. What you need is a real commitment to practicing the basics repeatedly. Sometimes, this is not my words, I'm paraphrasing. The author's name will come to me right now. But sometimes the most advanced thing we can do is practicing the basics consistently. And this thing where people are looking for the answer that will solve the discomfort, that answer does not exist. But practicing fundamental skills, committing to practicing fundamental skills repeatedly, it's messy, it's chaotic, it's uncomfortable when you learn a new skill. I recently started martial arts. Walking into that gym was not a comfortable experience. I'm saying recently, it's about 2 years now. Now it's much, much better. It took 2 years of consistently being under pressure, right, to feel a sense of comfort. There's no way to learn those skills without the 2 years of intentionally focusing on it. So whether you get a coach that really supports you, or whichever way you commit to this kind of journey, there's a lot of hope, and there's no way of doing it without hard work, intentional hard work on the basics.
And I suppose that practice helps you deal with it. Well, not even helps you thrive in that discomfort, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. So my business slogan is turning chaos into character, because you become the person who can deal with the pressure. You become the person who can even thrive. You can become the person that really has a lightness, even in the face of what seems overwhelmingly serious. Right? You can become that person, but it doesn't happen by itself. It doesn't happen by accident. The people that I've been working with and the people I've interviewed who does this really well, every single one of them will have a story about years of focused and intention. And you can skip the search for the silver bullet. If you take something away from this, you can skip it. There's no system. There's no shortcut. It's commitment and hard work over time. That's the only way.
I tell my CEO, when I hear something crazy or outside of the ordinary, I say, give me a minute to, I'm the auditor and the accountant in me, give me a minute to experience the shock, and I'll get there. Don't worry, just give me a minute. But I need to go through the process.
Yes. Awesome, man.
Sumarie, any last words from you?
I think I just wanted to add, in case it sounded fluffy, some of the stuff we talked about, is sometimes we have this perception that if we don't talk systems and actions, it's fluffy and it can't work. And we're not saying. So I just wanna make this clear. We're not saying relax and don't work and just chill. This is not it. But it's often what we think is that we need high pressure and some of that anxiety and overwhelm to perform. And that's absolutely not true. Okay? So it's sort of this thing where we put pressure on ourselves to improve performance, but the pressure actually has the opposite effect. So when you dig into this, let's call it, for the sake of interestness, let's call it the fluffy approach to time management, which is not a system. It's more about how do you relate to time. You actually improve your performance, even though it's not a system like lists or whatnot. It's a way of relating to time which improves your performance. So it's really it's an interesting topic, and I think on that note, I just want to invite everyone who wants to join us to a workshop event on calling the bluff on time management, okay, where we're going to dig a bit deeper into this. And it's the 7th of May, right? Okay, the date right.
7th of May, yeah.
So anyone who's interested in continuing the conversation, I'm happy to join. Uwais said he will share the link with you as well to register, which will be huge fun and definitely worth it.
So I'll add someone will add the link to the comment section of this discussion in LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you want to subscribe or you want to join, please use that link. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give the show a rating. It helps improve the ratings. Sumarie, Nico, thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you.
It was fun. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.